What are the downsides of hiring outsourced accounting staff in the Philippines through a BPO? Hi, my name is Isaac Smith. I'm the founder of Team Up, where we help accountants hire top-tier accounting staff in the Philippines. Today, we're going to be talking about BPOs. What are BPOs, and what are the downsides that accountants often don't realize before engaging with them? So let's get right into it. First, what is a BPO? BPO stands for Business Process Outsourcing. Now, BPO companies are outsourcing companies overseas usually, and they hire staff locally and then contract through you. So let's say you're an accounting firm, you want to hire 5 accounting staff or bookkeepers. You'll often contract with a BPO company. They'll put them on their payroll and you'll pay them a monthly fee. So they handle the payroll and compliance. They usually have an office where people go to. They provide laptops, desks, and everything that they need to do their work. Most accountants who have teams overseas use a BPO. BPOs are a great model for the BPO, but they're often not great for accounting and bookkeeping firms. And we're going to tell you why in this video. So let's talk about the downsides. What are there? Well, many accountants have discovered the downsides recently. I've been talking with a lot of them. They often don't notice for many months after they start working with them. And once they decide, maybe this isn't the right solution for me, they discover it's often not possible to leave. They get locked in. And we're going to get to that in a minute. So what are some other characteristics that may be potential challenges? Well, usually there's a layer of management between you and your team. And when you start working with them, it's unclear whether this is your team or theirs. And for that reason, it's hard to build company culture. The BPO has their own culture and policies. So, of course, if they have any problems in the company, those problems, whether they're cultural or policy or anything else, they get dragged into your company. Now they're your problems, unfortunately. I've heard the stories lately. Other issues are that they often don't have dedicated staff. So now this, of course, depends on which company you're going through. But yeah, they often have staff that isn't dedicated. And depending on availability, they can swap people in and out. And so that, of course, as you can imagine, makes it hard to maintain a quality of work. That brings me to the next point, candidate quality. The best candidates, the best accountants in the Philippines don't really want to work for BPOs for some reasons I'm going to get into in a minute, but that means that you often have access to only mediocre talent through these BPOs. Why? Why don't they want to work for them? Well, for one, think about it. If you were building your career in the Philippines and you have choices that are available to you, they can make a lot more money by going direct to the accounting firm that they want to work with. Cut out the middleman, so to speak. They also really want to work at home. Commutes in the Philippines into the major city centers are often 2 to 3 hours one way. So by working at home, they get an extra 4 to 6 hours of their life back. Wouldn't you want that? I sure would. The other thing is, and this is a side note, Filipino culture is very strongly family focused. And so adding that much more time that they get to spend with their families is a huge thing for them. The other reasons they don't want to work for BPOs are they have heavy-handed contracts with employees. A lot of them even stipulate where they can work next. So you can imagine if you're going to take a job with a company that limits your future career growth, you might think twice. There's another thing that BPOs sometimes they have a bad reputation of treating their employees poorly. These are large companies They know that they're making a big business, and they know that they can charge a lot to your accounting firms, Western accounting firms, and they know that there's a big difference between what they can charge and what typical salaries in the Philippines are. And so they certainly take what they can. There's often not a great culture. There's high turnover sometimes. If you've heard from other accountants that maybe they haven't been able to get quality accounting staff in the Philippines, it probably means that they just can't get good quality through these BPOs. But that doesn't mean there isn't great talent out there in the Philippines. There's incredible talent, and it's really exciting. Another downside are the fees, and this is probably where it hurts the most, unfortunately. BPOs, of course, they charge ongoing fees. There are management fees and laptop fees and IT fees and a bunch of other fees that you'll find in your contract. They also mark up employee salaries quite a lot. And so what you think the employee is getting paid often is not. Now, not every BPO company is the same. I'm not trying to paint everybody with the same brush, but these are pretty common things that I hear from accountants who have engaged with the BPOs. Overhead. Here's where accountants start to see the differences between what they wanted and what the reality is. So I'm not going to lie, BPO services are quite useful, especially in the first few months. They take care of the technology, they take care of the payroll and all of this stuff. When you're working internationally, when you're thinking about working internationally for the first time, you think, oh, there's just so much that I don't know. How would I ever do this? And so the services that the BPOs provide are actually quite useful. But after a few months, when their usefulness starts to run a little bit lower, you still continue paying those same fees. And over the course of a year or 6 months, you start to realize, wow, this is really adding up very quickly, but I don't need that extra help anymore. We're going to get to another point in a minute on those lines, but over time, you just need less management. And also, now that people want to work from home and it's becoming more common, why pay the BPO fees? Let's talk about the contracts. So contracts, if you read through them, you'll find that they can have a lot of sticking points, and you'll need to be careful of these. The biggest one is the exit clause. So let's say you decide, BPO, thank you for your service these first few months. I think that's been helpful, but now I've got this. I'm working with this employee. I don't really need any more of your help. I'd like to go take this employee on my own. Well, remember one of my earlier points. Whose team is this? Unfortunately, it's not your team. You cannot take them with you. Even if you've spent years training them, working with them, building relationships with them. You might have even flown out to meet them, but you cannot take them with you. Well, with some, it's possible, but with some, you'll end up with a pretty ugly legal situation on your hands. And believe me, I've heard the stories. It's not pleasant. If you can take them with you, some of them do allow you to take them on your own, but there's a very hefty exit fee. And they design them to be prohibitive. So that means that either you're stuck, you're locked in, or you have to completely rebuild your team. Remember what I said, this is a great model for the BPO, not so great for the accountants. Now, if you don't like that, are there any alternatives? If all those downsides are just too much and you think, I don't even want to hire in the Philippines, well, I have good news for you. There's another way. You can hire direct. The world is evolving, where early on when outsourcing was a new concept, previously we needed help hiring overseas. But now it's actually quite easy to go direct. Even if you're at that beginning phase where you're like, I just don't even know what I need to know, it's not that tough anymore. You can actually skip the BPO altogether. These days, tools and capabilities are so common. You don't need the BPO, and their value adds that I talked about. Honestly, yes, they are valuable, but they're just conveniences. And all those things are pretty easy to do on your own now. There's no need to pay hefty monthly fees for short-term convenience. It's fantastic. So this is what we do. We help accountants do this here at Team Up. We help people like you recruit top-tier Filipino accountants. We have no ongoing fees. We don't have any unnecessary services to sell you on. We just get the best candidates for a flat one-time fee. So if you're listening, you're thinking, well, hang on a second. What about all that payroll and compliance and all of that stuff that you just told me about? Well, we could do another video on those things, but it's actually not such a big deal. It's pretty easy to do on your own. Or you can go through an employer of record that would just handle payroll and compliance and not all of that extra stuff for much lower fees. We're going to cover that in another video, but just so you know, that's an option. So if that sounds good, if you'd like to learn more, we have a lot of great resources in hiring in the Philippines at our website. There's going to be a link below, but that website is hireteamup.com. So you can go there. There's a link below for the website and contact info. Please do reach out. We're happy to help. We want to see you have success, and we're thrilled to be able to help and provide value in this way. Thanks, and we'll talk soon.